Let's move on into the next sort of stage then. In terms of your own practice, have you continued working with whole-scale change and using whole-scale change in either its pure form or in a hybrid form of various sorts since your Virgin Atlantic days?
I mean, I've used it in a variety of different reasons in a variety of different organisations. So, yes, I have continued to use it. I'm very aware of that old phrase, if you have a hammer all you see are nails, but I'm always very interested in co-creating, in involving the real people who do the real jobs in bringing about the future when faced with any challenge. So I could give you a couple of specific examples, but I've used it to develop strategy. I've used it to look at, explore and develop culture, values and behaviours. I've used it in customer services to develop and improve customer service. So an example I would give, I worked with a housing association in the UK a few years ago, and they owned a lot of housing stock. And they were having problems with all of their maintenance, and the people who lived in the houses were constantly complaining about things not working, whether they were blocked drains or lights, things that I probably wouldn't even begin to understand.
All that sort of stuff,
Yeah, but what we did there was we took out, again, a cross-section of people, but again, we did some inquiry with the maintenance engineers first of all. And we did some appreciative inquiry to get them day at work when you felt you'd serve someone well, what that looked like, to just start to orient them and understand from them what good could look like. We then did do a whole-scale change intervention. Again, it was, I think this one was 2 days, as I remember, but a diagonal slice, but also including people who lived in the properties owned by the housing association. And we started by looking at the dissatisfiers, looking at what were all of the things day in, day out that went wrong, that either the residents or the maintenance engineers or anybody else in the organisation was touched by. And we got them to prioritise and pick a couple of things and really look at what would a good process be of trying to resolve some of these issues. And again, we came up with some quick fixes and a much longer tail of issues to be solved. But what was interesting about that was it felt like it really shifted the relationship between some of the residents and the maintenance engineers, but also the residents, the maintenance engineers and the wider organisation. And it felt also very much that the maintenance engineers had been given a voice rather than, you know, a sheet of jobs to do today with tools that didn't work or rotors that didn't work and so on. So that was one other example. I have been really, really lucky to work with Paul a number of times since Virgin Atlantic. We did work in another airline together where the presenting problem was the cabin crew are going on strike, to which our approach was, well, they may well do. That's an industrial relations issue that will run its course. But actually part of the job is thinking about the hearts and minds of the cabin crew and how they feel about their work and why it's got to this place in time. So again, we did we got a set of base managers to do appreciative interviews with cabin crew. We got all of that data crunched for the managers to start to really understand, luckily, to start to understand their leadership role. Again, we ran definitely a whole-scale change intervention. We ran a workout based on the GE workout process to do some problem solving around things like food delivery to aircraft, on-time performance and so on. So we were very lucky there to work for a period of time. What was really interesting, and if Paul watches this, he will laugh, we had assumed at the end of it that there would be also some leadership development work. To our surprise and delight, the leaders started changing their behaviour in response to the data that they were picking up from the interview. So there was no leadership development work, but we were delighted. with the impact work had.
Well, I mean, for me, that just really highlights, the words whole scale change. It's not that you're just working on the issue, the thing that's like above the waterline, whether it's a new strategy or new way of working, a new product that's been launched, like you talked about with Vision Atlantic. But actually, it has that wider impact on how people show up, their behaviors, in this case, leaders, and how they behaved, because they're recognized. For this to be successful, new behaviors had to be demonstrated and had to be lived by these leaders. So that's really, really fascinating. And for me, that's the real importance of working with these types of these approaches and tools, is to affect that whole scale change. Because you could make some tactical changes, but then you probably still get the same wicked issues showing up, and you end up playing whack-a-mole for the next few years. But you could actually invest sufficiently in maybe a 3-month period, building up to a 2.5 day whole scale change workshop that could have a real, truly transformational impact, not just on the presenting issue, but also on the whole system, so that it reorient itself so that it is performing in a better way, a more healthy and higher performing way.
Absolutely, yeah.